WMAL.
Now, Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630.
WMAL. Good morning and a happy Friday to you. 8:07 on WMAL. Brian Neiman and Brian Wilson as we broadcast live from the Metro 29 Diner. We're in Arlington right off of Lee Highway. We're here for another hour. This is part of our weekly effort to get into Virginia now as we get closer and closer to November 6th, the big battleground state of Virginia, of course. We had Brian Moran on the show a little bit earlier.
That's right.
Chairman of the Virginia Democratic Party. We had former Congressman Tom Davis on the program just a little bit earlier. And former Senator, former Governor George Allen, who wants to be Senator again from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Good to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing great. And good morning to Brian, and thank you for coming into Virginia.
Well, we're happy to come across the river.
Yeah, and if folks want big breakfasts, good value, they ought to come here. And
Metro 29 Diner, the food is fantastic.
I got to tell you, I know we're going to get to the race between you and Tim Kaine coming up, but I wanted to get your thoughts. Did you watch the debate, and what were you thinking as it was unfolding the other night?
I was on the way from the Chesapeake Food Fest and on my way to Winchester, so I was listening to it on the radio, and I thought Mitt Romney did an outstanding job in so many ways. And the thing for me is many of the issues that they were discussing in that debate are the same issues and differences that we have in our campaign, whether it's this health care tax law, Obamacare, where I was just talking to a fellow in a wheelchair here, and I said, well, they want to put a 2.3% tax on the manufacturers of that. Well, that gets passed on to the consumers. I hear from people all over Virginia who are worried about access to doctors who will take Medicare patients. You hear from small businesses who do not want to increase the number of jobs they have or hire people because of it. Energy is a big issue from Southwest Virginia and the coal fields to our coast. Virginians are ready, willing, and able to provide America with the energy to power our economy. And in fact, in the event that I'm hired on to represent the people of Virginia in the Senate, right after taking office, the first bill I would introduce would allow us in Virginia to produce oil and natural gas off our coast and then use the royalties for roads and transportation, and that would be hundreds of millions of dollars a year for transportation priorities here in Virginia. And Mitt Romney, as president, would be saying yes to Virginia, from our coal fields to our coast and throughout our country, even up to the barren North Slope of Alaska. We ought to be utilizing our American energy resources for more affordable fuel, and it affects food prices, it affects electricity, affects our
everything.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the state of the race in the Commonwealth. Let's look at some numbers. Right now, it's a 2-point race. Obama leads, but with a big debate performance by Romney, many people think that may change, that may tighten up. If you look at the polls about the Senate race, you're a little behind by about 4 points according to most polls. Does a strong performance by Mitt Romney in the debate change things here in the Commonwealth to move it back in the other direction?
Well, it's bound to be helpful to the extent, and a lot of people who are watching that debate or listening to it on the radio, and of course we all like people listening to the radio.
That's right, we do.
There you go. That's the way to get everyone together. It's bound to help, and I think it focuses people in on the issues that matter, affect them at their kitchen tables, whether that's, one side wants to raise taxes. In fact, Joe Biden just said they want to raise taxes by $1 trillion. My opponent, Tim Kaine, was talking about raising taxes on folks, and which was consistent with his proposals as governor, where he's trying to raise taxes by billions of dollars, including state income taxes on people earning as little as $17,000 a year. Raising taxes is not going to help create jobs in this fragile economy. It is going to cause jobs to be lost, and what we need to do is set priorities. And one of the key things that also is brought up and never addressed much by the president is these devastating job losses we're going to get in Virginia. Over 200,000 defense and technology jobs that are at risk.
Yeah, but no notices are going out, though.
Well, the reality is, and Tom Davis said this, alluded to it, the effects already being felt, especially with the subcontractors and smaller businesses. The primes are not putting forth those contracts to them. They're doing them themselves. And I was in Stafford County just a couple of weeks ago, and they're saying how this is affecting a small business. The folks in commercial real estate were saying, well, people can't fill up these spaces because they don't know what's going to happen. All that they can do is wait. And now what you hear from my opponent, who supported that deal. I opposed it, and in fact, in a recent debate, he even says it was the right thing to do. This is going to be so devastating to our economy, particularly here in Northern Virginia, as well as Hampton Roads, and this is a dangerous world. So this is not only is it wrong and a lack of leadership in setting priorities, but is really dangerous to do this. And these cuts, half the cuts coming from the paramount responsibility of the federal government, which is national defense.
Let me ask you this, though. You laid it out very well that things are not going great in this country right now. You have high unemployment that's been above 8% for quite some time. We've got the possibility of inflation coming up. We have a debt over $16 trillion. The economy is sluggish. And a president who has an approval rating below 50%. Historically, you can't win an election like that. But Barack Obama is close, or if not leading in the polls, and Republicans may lose some houses in the seats in the House. Why isn't it resonating with the American people if we have this stark of a problem in this country? Why do you think that?
Well, I'm not a political analyst. Tom Davis is much better on that than me. But here's the point.
You talk to people. I mean, does it concern you that the fact that it is like this now, and yet it is still extremely close?
There you go. I knew you'd adduce the point. It is very close. The people that my wife Susan and I listen to all over Virginia are not happy with the direction of our country. Most people, I think, envision a better future than what we're having to endure these days. It is our responsibility as candidates who want to see change to say, here are the positive, constructive ideas that we would like to see put into effect that will help you or your children. Right. You talk about unemployment. Underemployment's even more discouraging. So many young people who graduate from college move back home. The underemployment rate amongst young people and indeed middle-aged people, where folks are in a job but is not fully utilizing their skills or their talent or their education. That's what needs to be turned around. And I try to point out to folks in Virginia, I have a proven record of working as governor with Democrats in control of the legislature. We reduced taxes. We made our community safer. We've gotten endorsements from the NFIB, from the realtors, from the Fraternal Order Police, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the NRA. All of that are validations of what we're saying is borne out by our past record. And I think people, as you get to Election Day, where last month, will focus in. It'll be those independent swing voters in Virginia who are going to determine really the future of our country.
Well, there's only one more thing that's more important than politics, and that's getting to traffic and weather on the 5. So hang on for a minute. We're going to do weather, come back, and continue our conversation with Senator George Allen.
8:15, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes. First on the 5s. Can't miss it. Here's Jamie Whitten.
And it's important to note that we do have some happy commuters. Better than normal on 270 if you're coming out of Clarksburg, past 118. Not seeing too much of a backup until you get to some of that volume down toward the exits to Rockville and the lane divide. Now, we're still bunched up Beltway and Silver Spring from 95 to Georgia Avenue. No problems, 50 out of Annapolis Bowie. Southbound 95 Maryland, keep alert. We just had a report of a crash. Southbound, after the exit for Route 100, exit 43, but before you get to Route 175. This puts it south of the exit for BWI Airport on Interstate 95. Let's also go Virginia, southbound 95, where we normally don't have much of a problem here in the morning, but because of a broken down car, 95 south jammed from Dumfries to Triangle, where you lose the lane. Northbound out of Dumfries, not seeing any delays up through to the Beltway. Interloop as you come off of 95, that is stop and go, heading past Gallows Road. 66 brief delays as you push in toward Manassas and Centerville, and again at 50 Fair Oaks and up through to the Beltway. Again, just brief delays there. Garage door left open, that's no problem with Chamberlain's new MyQ garage door monitor. It's included with every battery backup garage door opener. You can monitor and close your garage door from anywhere in the house, keeping your mind clear and your home secure. Now the 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL Weather Channel forecast.
Sunshine today, 83 will be the high. Clear tonight, low down to 60. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Rain is possible in the afternoon. We'll be at 78 for Saturday. And then Sunday, big game changer, if you will. Cloudy, rain in the mid-50s. Make things nice and sloppy at FedEx Field for the Redskins game. 8:17 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you as we broadcast live from the Metro 29 Diner in Arlington. Former Senator, former Governor George Allen is with us this morning. Big race with Tim Kaine coming up. So this is not necessarily, well, here's a question for you. I think it's a fair point from the Democrats. They said, hey, Mitt Romney's plan, which is to lower rates and get rid of deductions and credits, but he hasn't told us where those deductions and credits are going to come from. Will it be a mortgage interest rate? Will it be for having kids? Do you have any idea where that would come from, or where would you like to see it come from?
Well, I have you have two different tax systems, one for individuals, the other's for businesses. On the individual side, what I'm advocating and have been is a freedom to choose flat tax. People have made decisions and investments based on tax laws, and I think it would be unfair to just all of a sudden change it. The mortgage interest deduction is a very important one in making housing affordable for people. We have a very fragile housing market, and so I think that'd be wrong to take that away. The other, I think, doesn't make any sense to limit charitable contributions. Charities like to get contributions. So,
well, then where are these credits going to come from?
So the point is, if you like the current tax law, you can stay with it. If you like one that's very simple and you just fill it out with either no deductions or very few, and it's a simple one sheet of paper, let the taxpayers decide what they want to do. This is similar to what Hong Kong has done, and they found most people in Hong Kong migrated to the flat tax. Now, on corporate, on the business tax, this is something really important for jobs. We have in our country the worst in the world, 35% tax on job-creating businesses. The international average is 25%. I'm advocating 20% because I think America should be better than average. That alone, doing that, would help create over 500,000 new jobs a year. That's 5 million jobs over a 10-year period. Apparently, Governor Romney is advocating 25%. Mm-hmm. I think there's a basis for agreement. There are Democrats and Republicans who want it higher or lower. I'd like to get around the table and let's find out the best competitive tax system, more simple, fewer deductions, maybe no deductions, that'll make our country more competitive internationally. And we should also go to a territorial system of taxation rather than double taxation that'll bring money back into the U.S.
I got to bear down on one point, and that is that in the last election cycle in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Democrats were incredibly organized, and Obama had a great campaign operation around the state. Turnout was important. In an election that's going to be much closer than that one, turnout is everything. Are you satisfied with the level of organization you have in the Commonwealth when it comes to turning out the vote on election day?
Oh, y'all can do better. You're never satisfied. I mean, that's. But I think we have a much better ground game. I know in our own campaign we have coordinators in every county and city in Virginia. I learned that from losing in the last election, of which I take responsibility for. But we have a great grassroots effort. In fact, I think it's the best I've ever seen it. I'm not going to in any way disparage the efforts of the Obama campaign, but I think we have much more enthusiasm and motivation. I think young people, college students who last time voted so much for President Obama, this is not the future they wanted.
They're not enthused, are they?
No, and I think a lot of them, most students, their goal in graduating from college is not to move back home.
Right.
It is to start their professional career.
Same with mom and dad, by the way.
Yeah, with mom and dad. So the point is I think that my view is anybody who uses electricity ought to be on our side. Anybody who drives a car should be on our side.
Okay.
Anybody who thinks healthcare decisions ought to be made by doctors and patients rather than bureaucrats. Anybody who pays taxes ought to be on our side. Anybody who works for a living or wants a job, or anyone who cares about the future of their children or grandchildren ought to be on our side, and that's who we're targeting our message to, which is everyone.
Well, Governor Allen, it was great to have you. Thanks for coming by live in person, and best of luck to you on the campaign.
Well, it's great to be with both of you, and it's good to see you all live. We listen to you every morning.
Thank you. We appreciate
in Mount Vernon.
Good.
Governor George Allen, as we broadcast live from the Metro 29 Diner here in